Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this special board meeting. It is October 28th. It's 4 o'clock. We have a quorum. I'd like to start the meeting. Now I have a complete quorum. And I'd like at this point, if possible, to call Dr. Chernus to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Seaman, you didn't get the "it's summer" memo. I know. It's two different worlds.
Okay, if I could, please, I'd like to get an approval of the agenda. Could I get a motion for the approval of the agenda, please?
I'll make a motion for the approval of the agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Stern. And I need a second. Do I have a second?
I will second.
I didn't see.
Seconded by Russell.
Mr. Stewart.
Mr. Stewart. Okay, thank you, Mr. Stewart. Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That's a 5-0. And now I would like to go to the agenda hearing period, the public comment. We have one comment from a lady named Dr. Chrissy Jones. She's on Zoom, and I will call on her now. I hope she's with us. She's not on Zoom. Is she here? No Zoom. Did she know what time the meeting was? Okie dokie. Well, I'm sorry that she will not be able to make a comment at this time. Okay, at this time, it's very hard to see. I would like to have an approval of the 2020, oh wait, no. I think we should have it presented and then make a motion to approve it. Okay, so.
I think we need a motion. So
I think we should have the motion and then, yeah. Okay, I have the motion to approve the strategic plan.
I so move.
Thank you, Mrs. Manicherry.
I'll second.
Thank you, Dr. Stern. Okay, all those in favor of the motion?
Are we having discussion first?
So we're going to have discussion. Okay. All right.
Nice haircut.
Then let's have Dr. Chernus
Thank
lead
you,
us off.
President Marcus. We have before you the district strategic plan for this year. I will say none of this is a surprise. This plan memorializes the work we're doing. So at this time, Dr. Sieben and I will present the district strategic plan. We'll go through the whole plan, and then we'll ask the board if they have any questions or comments.
Can I ask you one thing? Could we do the academic first and then do the rest?
However you would like.
I think it would be easier if we could just concentrate on academics. If we have questions, we can then ask them and then get back to the balance of the strategic plan.
Okay.
Okay.
So goal 1 is student achievement. We have a goal district-wide of increasing our achievement by 5% or more in both English and math. We have several methods to accomplish this, including internal assessment blocks, which are the CASP, essentially CASP materials, prep materials that we'll be doing this year a few times during the year to get the kids ready. That's really less about teaching and more having the kids familiarize themselves with the method of testing and the modules. iReady at the elementary level, NWA middle. We have common assessments district-wide. As we've mentioned, we're doing our intervention after school, grades 3 through 8. And we're increasing our counseling services, K-12, and also implementing a new DLA Academy, which we firmly believe will help our scores in the future. So how do we do that? We've talked a little bit about the instructional piece, but it's also about improving the quality of instruction with our teachers. And so we've implemented a new tool called Bullseye for real-time feedback for evaluation and observation tools. We've done walkthroughs, making sure we're following the Danielson framework to increase rigor, and looking at data to drive our instruction. We also have a new math curriculum at the elementary and middle school level. And we're implementing a district-wide writers workshop program to have the kids get more in-depth writing. And we'll have a lot of data points to look at how we did, but we're trying to hit this on all levels and really put investment on instruction.
So I'm going to jump in real quick, just from a data review standpoint. What you're looking at here, for those that are at home potentially viewing, we're going to read left to right. So this is our elementary combined. When you look at this, we are looking at this from a district lens. If you look from third grade, which in 2024, 73%, 102 of our students met or exceeded state standards. What does that mean? That means that they received a 3 or a 4 on the CASP exam. Last spring in third grade, we increased that number and it was 75%. So there's a 2% increase between 24 and 25. So you can kind of continue to go all the way across and read those data points. One thing that I do want to draw the board's attention and the community as well, all the way to the far right, we did include the iReady because it is a great comparison for those in the community that are asking, is this a good predictor of my students' performance, or is this worth our time and effort? And you can see how closely aligned our CAS scores and our spring iReady assessments were. Almost to 1 to 2 percentage points off, if not some, we're almost dead on. And so iReady is a good indicator of our students' progress and performance. And when Dr. Chernus mentioned our high impact tutoring, that is one of the measures that we are identifying students to place into that tutoring program. I'm going to jump into the middle school and high school as well. I think it's very important for us, again, just reading the chart left to right. I'm going to use grade 6. You'll see our ELA scores from one year to the following year. There's some successes in some areas of serious focus, but I do want to show on the right-hand side again why it is important that we do have these other indicators for identifying areas of growth. NWEA scores are also, the MAP growth is just as aligned as the iReady feedback to our CAS scores. So now, for many years, we were throwing really darts in the dark, trying to hit a bullseye. And now we have more data and information on our students where now we can actually implement things like the high impact tutoring with a purpose instead of guesstimating where our students will fall. So I'm going to continue on our CASP assessments again. You'll see the 24 to 25 cross-reference as far as our scores go. I'm going to jump into our PSAT, SAT. I see some of our site-based administration in the back of the house, so I appreciate them for helping us collect all the data, putting it together. One of the things that a lot of people always ask is around blue ribbon schools. So 2 indicators is our performance in SAT or ACT. Another one is AP. It's AP for all, not AP for some. And so one of our goals is to increase access to AP. When you look at some of the blue ribbon schools, it's because they're able to encourage students to step out of their comfort zone. One of those measures to help us is the AVID program. And you'll see from 24 to 25, we've increased the number of students earning a 3 or higher from 84 to 88%. You'll also see on the right-hand side of the chart, we also increased the number of AP students at the high school. We went from 438 to 478. One question that comes up every year from the community, and especially right around course selection time, is what were our mean scores for our AP exams? And so this chart allows all of us in the community to be able to say, here at pre-calculus, we had 28 students take the honors pre-calc class. All of them scored a 5. So the mean score was a 5.
Do viewers have access to this? People who are online, do they have access to this chart?
Yes, it should be it's posted.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And so you'll see how many students at BHUSD took the exam. So English language, we had 120 students, and we had a mean score of 3.72. So almost a 4. This was last year, so spring.
The year before, I mean, 3.7 from 24, 25. What was the core 23?
You're really trying to bury me. So let me go back into the archives and
Yeah,
dig those up.
what we don't have here, we'll take notes
Yeah.
and we'll provide it.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a great cross-reference, so 100%. We can absolutely grab our 24.
Comparing everything to the year before, I'd like to have a comparison on that also.
Absolutely.
I'm sure it's going to be higher.
Yep, yeah. One of the things, though, I do want to make sure that we're all, it's kind of cart horse, is we always have that struggle with how many APs do we offer kids, and how do we get more students enrolled in AP? And so there's a lot of misconceptions in the community that the more that we offer, the worse it is for college admissions, and that's not correct. Those that have earned blue ribbon are the schools that offer as many APs for all kids of all different areas. So offering the AP 2D art, AP 3D art, AP music theory, because it's the percentage of overall students enrolled in an advanced placement course that calculates towards U.S. News and World Report, and it also calculates towards the potential of becoming a blue ribbon institution.
Can I ask you, Dr. Seaman?
Yeah. Yep. So,
Yeah, but then it's.
yep.
Can you repeat that statistic? It's the percentage of.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
I think it's easier if we get through the whole academic session. So we have about, I don't know, a few more slides, and then we can go to the board for questions.
Yep. So a total number, I think this is an overwhelming statistic, and I appreciate, is we took over 958 AP exams in the spring, and we had a mean score of all those exams of a 3.71. 3 is where most colleges, not Ivy, most colleges will accept for college credit, but you will not get into an Ivy without a 4 or 5. Okay.
Okay, and then of course, student engagement. How are we going to get the students engaged? And so we're trying to hit that on all fronts to increase student engagement by 5% in all programs, and we call it the AAAs, activities, arts, and athletics. So clubs and sports, the work we're doing at the middle school, the expansion of the field, the addition of an assistant director of athletics for elementary and middle school sports, elementary offerings, we've added the music, the speech and debate, special education offerings. We're looking to add a unified PE class to integrate our special education students with our gen ed for PE. And also they got to be at school. So we do have a goal on attendance of 95% or higher for attendance and suspension rates. Dr. Seaman?
Sorry. Yep. And so what we would like to do also is just be able to bring this data point to you. It's this is a data point we wouldn't necessarily compare 24 to 25. It's an overall goal. We know that by California Department of Education, federal law, and if we were ADA, if we were ever to go back to ADA where we were paid per pupil per seat, you would always want 95% threshold. In addition, so that's the first column is ADA. We want to make sure that that percentage is over 95%. So obviously there are 2 schools that earned that and 2 schools that we are working towards achieving that this year. The other piece to this puzzle is if you're not in seats, we can't educate you. And so the chronic absentee number is important because that means that 15% of the population at BHHS last year missed 10 or more instructional days. So when you start to compound those 10 days, they took a couple field trips, they did this or that and the other, a student could have potentially missed 25 days, right? So that's why these data points are important for us to pay attention to.
And is that where the threshold is 10 days missed?
10 days is considered, 10 or more, yep, is chronic. And that reflects directly on our dashboard. An example would be El Rodeo last year would have been a distinguished school based off academic performance, but because of chronic absenteeism and suspension rate, they did not make that cut. And then suspensions is the other piece. When you look at the overall numbers, you'll see in parentheses the unduplicated. That is another area that we need to be very specific on is you have BHHS has 47 students that were suspended, and 40 of those students unduplicated, meaning they fall into a population such as special education, EL, is not the majority. And so we want to make sure that we are looking at our unduplicated rates in addition to just the overall percentage. That overall percentage is reported to our dashboard.
So those are our 3 academic goals. So at this time, before we go to goal 4, facilities, Mrs. Marcus, we will turn it over to you for board questions.
Okay, I'll go last. Mr. Stewart, you have some questions?
Dustin, could you go back to the 6th through 8th grade slide, that one right there? What do we attribute that drop in grade 8 math to? Seems quite extravagant in loss there.
Yeah, so one thing that we consistently always notice over the years, one is as the grade levels progress, obviously the standards progress. If we don't have a strong foundation, each year, if that foundation isn't built solid, then each year we're going to start to lose more and more students along the way. So it's natural attrition, truth be told. If you look at any of the even school districts that outperform us, there will always be an attrition of students as you start to get closer to high school and then even above. So that's why it's so essential that we focus on our elementary level to ensure if we're getting 80+% meeting or exceeding state standards, and if we start to lose some because their attention may be wanting to go to the fine arts, or they're pulling away into social studies or ELA, we still have that cushion. But if we start off with 60% in our elementary level, by the time you get to 8th grade, and then even worse by 11th grade, you're losing more and more along the way. So I think natural attrition's one that we have to be aware of. But 2, I think one of the great pieces, Principal Waters and we went on this journey over the last 2 years of just evaluating our math curriculum. The middle school math curriculum had not been touched since 2008. The CASP exam was starting to assess in 2016. And so our own curriculum within the middle school was not even aligned with the assessment in which we were being charged or judged against, whether or not our students met standards. And so that's another area that we've tackled now by thank you to the Board of Education. Mrs. Marcus and I saw it in practice today. We saw 2 different grade bands utilizing our new math curriculum today. And so we have new math curriculum TK through 8th grade.
And the new math curriculum is not obviously reflected in these numbers.
No, nope. This will be our first year implementation, 6th through 8th grade with illustrative math, correct?
Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Manicherry, you're up.
Thank you so much. The way I'm interpreting the numbers is that in the later years of elementary, we have made a little bit of gains in the ELA and a little bit of gains as well in the math. In 6th through 8th and 11th, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. We have some lows in math going lower, and we have some increases for the most part in ELA. So we're a little bit all over the place is the way I'm interpreting the numbers. Okay, jumping, and I do want to thank you all for your time in making this presentation, and I am happy to be here. I'll just start, and then I'm okay with any of my colleagues stopping and chiming in so that we can hit a topic and move on, or however you guys want to handle it. On the slide that indicates goal number 1, student achievement, I just want to talk about the iReady and the results. Dr. Seaman and I in the past have talked about the value of the information and sharing the data. I try not to talk about my own kids, but I think it's helpful to share with you as a parent how I'm getting it, what's coming down to me. I received, I think on September 18th, an email with my youngest's iReady scores, my elementary schooler. It came with a a long description of directions of how to log on to iReady, and I was unable to log on. Okay, and so my number one recommendation would be if you could please speak with the iReady folks and ask them if they can somehow generate the results, the assessment, and send those home. Because if they come in, does that make sense?
Yeah, and we can also mail them home.
So however you want to do it is okay with me. What I want to share with you is there was no attachment. So not only did I have to go fish for it, but I was unable to successfully do it. And then I reached out to my teacher, and she within a day responded, etc. But if I had had it at September 18th, which is now over a month ago, I would have maybe done something more at that time. And the reason I share this is because we all can do our part to move this mountain.
Yep.
And I think we all should be asked to, parents included. Then the parent-teacher conference is not going to be held until 5 to 6 weeks later, first week of November. And so I'm just sharing that in terms of, let's keep that in the back of our mind, that the results are available mid-September, the information is not being shared, and the discussion is not being had until 5 or 6 weeks later. And so let's just ask ourselves procedurally, can we be doing this in a better way where we're now maximizing on 6 more weeks of parent involvement, instruction, and support at home of what's happening in the classroom, okay? So that's number one. Number two, I would like to mention that we are also doing summer school for all students that are not meeting or exceeding grade level standards, if that's something you want to add to our items list of what we've been doing. I think it was an enormous movement that we made. And I would like to encourage the addition of a BVMS Bridge summer school class. We've discussed it in the past, and I know that our facilities has not necessarily supported being able to do that, because we want the kids to have access to the high school facilities. But I just want to put that out there. I think that we had it made a big impact to have it at the elementary, and I think a lot of middle schoolers would benefit from that too. I would like to again touch on the substitute situation and encourage education services to establish a list of preferred subs that are categorized based on subject matter. And then the principal issues the list of the subs that the teachers can select from, or the principal is the one to make the decision. But either way, now that we're paying for swing education, whoever it is, we have internal subs that are great and we have swing subs that are great. But I would like for there to be some kind of an organization where we know, hey, these 2 subs are really strong at middle school math. So why are these 2 subs not the ones that are exclusively coming in when our middle school math teachers are out for AVID, for example?
Yep.
Okay, so that's another thing. Okay, on the page 2, goal number 2, teaching and learning. To Dr. Seaman's point of the math curriculum being stale, I like to keep my side of the street clean. And as a board member, when I'm asking more of all of you and all of our staff, our teachers in particular, I really would like to know if we have more stale curriculum, meaning as we're looking ahead and prioritizing where we're putting our dollars, I think this should be at the forefront of these conversations. You know, our math curriculum was old. Are there other old curriculums? And in addition to that, I would encourage ed services and the principals, as well as if you want to do it with the grade band teachers or department heads, I think we need to have a rigor review. I will be very frank. I came in from LAUSD. My older kids went to West Hollywood Elementary first. And I know that we have been focusing in the last few years on academics, and this is not meant at a slight to anybody, but I will say that the books that my children were reading in the 4th and 5th grade there were, I would say, maybe had a little bit more rigor. And so I would be interested, now that we have 3 fresh principals and 1 veteran principal, and we've got a mix of old and new, I think that we need to do a rigor review, and I would recommend that. And the rigor review would not just be the curriculum and the books, but also the materials that are going home. There is an inconsistency in some grade levels about the materials going home. You have one class with a ton of homework, you have one class with little homework, but it's also the quality of the material. And Mrs. Marcus and I have mentioned, she's mentioned as a former math teacher, the repetition is not happening. You know, for example, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, the worksheets need to come home. The kids need to learn those multiplication numbers. Mrs. Marcus, I'm speaking for you now. Okay. I am interested to know how often are the principals meeting with the grade level teachers. That's something we had discussed in years past, and I'm just curious to know, is it the once a quarter at the elementary school level or once a month at this point? In the spring, maybe it was in February, we discussed with the prior high school principal, and I think this applies to BVMS, but there should be meetings of the subgroups. Like right now, my understanding is it's all math teachers meeting at one time, but wouldn't it be great if all algebra teachers met at one time and we really and we really subdivided it? To me, that would be the most effective approach. And then when I saw the even better results of our AP exams, it took me back to the BVMS honors, and I was wondering, to me, the policy at the high school is not necessarily inconsistent with the policy at the middle school. I understand at the middle school there's a desire to develop a strong foundation, but I'm just reminding you guys that at the high school level, we're literally pushing these kids into AP classes because we know that they can achieve, and in my opinion, we should be doing the same thing at the middle school level. So I'm not saying these are inconsistent, but there's some kind of a discrepancy between the approach here.
I will say that at the middle school level, we did see in the area of mathematics.
Yes.
We saw a healthy increase year over year.
Agreed.
7% in 8th grade, 8% in 7th grade, and even in 6th. So that was one of the positives we pulled out of the data that we
Yes.
want to continue.
Thank you, and I appreciate that you highlighted that because I think it's important for our community to hear that. We have made gains, we have made some losses. I think our gains have been bigger than our losses. One program that we have been hearing about a lot is the middle school math, and we have demonstrable success there, and we will continue to do better, I'm sure. The last item that I wanted to mention, actually 2 things, is regarding goals number 3. I wanted to clarify or add that on the elementary offerings, I understand we're also now offering afternoon chess, and I would just say, let's quote unquote get credit for it. If we're doing it, let's let our community know. On the suspension rate, I just want to be as clear as day. I understand and accept that our students are learning about who they are, how they can speak, and how they can treat each other, and a lot of that is developmentally appropriate. However, I draw the line at ugly stuff, and I'm not going to detail what ugly stuff is, but I want our community to know that ugly behavior is not going to be tolerated, and there will be consequences. Now, it's on you guys to determine what those consequences are, but the blue ribbon school goal for me is not enough of a reason to look the other way on the behaviors. I want to go 5 times harder on the behaviors, not softer.
Can I address, just because this used to live on a different side of the house and now I get to
Yes.
tiptoe into it. I think what is important is when the community sees a goal such as suspension rate below 1% annually, it's not because we're not holding our students to a high standard, both academically and behaviorally. It's us as a full community should train and teach our students at a much younger age how to act appropriately.
Yes.
And that, yes, we all of us in this room will not discipline a student based off of an award that we're trying to
you.
achieve. It
And
is
I accept that at face value, Dr.
Yep,
Seaman.
yep,
I
it-
understand what you're saying.
Yep.
But I think that because student engagement is on here, suspension is on here, then maybe we need to add another goal, which is respect.
Yep. And we tie the engagement piece because we also believe that if we can get our students engaged in arts or athletics,
Yes.
or they will be a better leader and want to put forth their best self.
Yes.
And so that's really why it's, Dr. Chern is, which is a great idea, is tying this. It's not one or the other. Kids come to school more if they're engaged or involved in an activity or sport or club or arts.
Agreed.
So all 3 things go together. Yes, purpose.
I agree with you, and that's why I have, since the day I've been on the board, said that the students should be under our care or be able to be from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. I wholeheartedly agree with you. But I do think, and I ask my colleagues, I really believe that positive behaviors and self-respect and respect of others needs to be a stated priority. Please.
Are you finished?
And I am finished, and thank you for this very good report.
Dr. Stern?
Thank you very much. I looked carefully at a lot of these, and I did see some slight gains overall. A lot of them weren't statistically significant. So like, 1 year, 70% met or exceeded, the next year, 73, 74. I mean, that's really about the same range, but it's still, I did not see anything that looked like a precipitous drop. And so I'm really pleased about that. A couple of things that don't necessarily have to do with achievement, but I think should be stated. My understanding is, unfortunately, the blue ribbon status has been decommissioned, whatever the word is. However, performatively, there are schools who are still saying, this is a blue ribbon school, and there's no reason why we can't aim for that. However, my understanding is that is unfortunately no longer a designation officially. But it is sad, but I'd like to know more about that if you guys could get back to us. But that is something that I have heard. The engagement piece overall, of course, is crucial. What I wasn't hearing, and I do remember in previous years that there were parent math nights. And they weren't only incredibly fun for a lot of the parents, but a lot of things are accomplished when you see that the parent body is actually educated and able and setting a positive example for how we confront math specifically, right? We all know that there's a lot of poor attitudes in general about math. There's the old fear that you think you're a girl, so you can't do math, or the educators don't push you. I don't know how true that is anymore, but the negativity around math does remain, and I think, and I totally encourage, in terms of the engagement piece, that there is time and money and organization around math parent nights. I don't know if that happened last year, but the year before, for sure, there were some great ones, and I think that goes a long way towards the engagement piece. Looking at some of the math scores, and that to me remains like some of the biggest concern, and I do know nationally that middle school math unfortunately does have a drop. Like, that is pretty common. You'll see some really robust scores in elementary, and then I don't know if it's a confluence of puberty or apathy or a bunch of things, or they're no longer, under the care of one homeroom teacher, but they're going to like different, there's a lot of factors involved. But that is a common decrement that you see, once kids get to middle school. I'm not excusing it, but that is for sure, and that's what we're seeing here. When I look at this page here, so we have grades 3 and 5, and I understand that for math 2025, the grade 3, 4, and 5 is an aggregate of both schools, correct? Okay. When I try to dissect a problem, I really want to look very accurately and parse through some of the scores at a sort of a deaggregated level, because then we can really understand and target some of the issues. So like Horace Mann, for 2025, the overall math was 68, met or exceeded. El Rodeo was 80, and that's a big difference. So I'm saying that because there are
I'm
two.
gonna stop sharing, sorry.
Yeah. So if you just look at the difference between the 80 and the 68, that means that it's not a unitary construct. In other words, there's really a difference there. So it is. I'll show you. It is for just the school itself for 2025 math. Oh yeah, 80 and 68 is a significant difference.
Yeah,
No, I just want to make sure that that's verified by you, Dr. Seaman, as well.
yeah,
Figures.
hold on one second. I'm feverishly
Yes.
searching my drive real quick.
Yeah, and I'm at the CASP ETS because the dashboard doesn't yet show those scores.
Yep.
But anyway, regardless to look at the absolute figures, we do know there is a difference. The El Rodeo is scoring significantly higher. Is that not true, right? They're scoring higher than Horace Mann, specifically in the math. And so I really would love to know what can be done to support the Horace Mann, perhaps more comprehensively, given that difference. I also want to give a shout out that I'm very impressed with those El Rodeo numbers. There was an increase. So 2024 for El Rodeo / Hawthorne was 78 met or exceeded, whereas 2025 is 80 met or exceeded. So I just wanted to illustrate there are some differences, so that might mean that the tactic might need to vary across those two schools. And then also, I do remain concerned that there is as I said, it is common that the middle schools will drop. But if I'm correct, we're in the 50s for the high school. For the middle school. Math is like 58 met or exceeded for all of BVMS, but those same kids from, say, El Rodeo in 5th grade were at significantly higher. So they were at 80. So I just would love to know how we can support those kids. And there's a confluence of different kids coming to the middle school, but it's a notable drop. So those are my thoughts.
And anything else?
That's it for now.
Okay, I'm sorry,
It's good
Okay.
to subdivide, Mandy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they're different
There's-
problems. They're
those are
different.
correct.
Yeah.
this is
I
about
have school specific.
your turn.
Yeah, so the next board meeting, we're going to have blinds right there.
No, I'm going to stand there.
Sun's my- it's
I'm going to
mine.
stand there with a blind for you.
Paging Mr. Karat?
Because now I can't even see Dr. Seaman. Okay, so,
Hopefully the sun moves, so we.
I know, but it's on me right now.
I didn't complain. For the last 10 minutes, I've been sitting here.
Well,
I know,
started
but,
it.
I know. So, okay, so I wanted to know in the classes, per class, how many students do we have what are our ratios, teacher to student, let's say, in the middle school? Because it came to my attention that we are packed in the classes. And per subject, how many, let's say if we have an English class in 6th grade, how many teachers do we have for regular English and honors, and so on and so forth? Math, 7th grade, 8th grade. It's different when we come to the middle school, obviously, than the elementary. We have one teacher.
We can get the class size information.
And the
I
high
don't want you
school.
to shoot off the cut or
Yeah,
whatever
no,
it
you
is.
don't need to tell me right now.
Shoot from the hip? Yes.
Shoot from there.
That's going to be some
Okay.
investigating.
We
So-
will get that information for you.
Thank you. So specifically, what my concerns are, like, let's say in the high school, you have 2 math classes or 2 chemistry classes, or maybe just one. And so I'd like to know what the ratios are per student and teacher, and how many classes do we have? Do we need more teachers? Do we need to open up more classes? Because the board needs to know that, and we need to work on that. And because I do not want, what is our maximum capacity, let's say in the middle school?
As far as just overall enrollment?
What is the maximum in the class?
Contractually,
29.
29.
We
Okay, so-
schedule 29 or less.
Okay, then is there any way to make sure that we check that? Because I'm hearing we have more in the
Yep,
classroom.
so there's two calculations within our CBA. We have a teacher can hold a caseload up to 145 outside of physical education. Within that, we try to stay anywhere between, below 29, within the 5 sections of classes.
So it's the average 29, so you could have a
Correct.
class of 32 and a class of 26.
Depending on how
so-
master scheduling falls.
I would bet that if you ask
Yes.
right now with what we have in the schools of the academic classes, that there are not many classes that are at 29. At least that's the feeling and I see Mr. Waters in the audience.
Okay.
But as far as I'm concerned, I don't know that any of those classes are now in the math and English, each individual subject.
Mrs.
29 in
Marcus?
each class.
So it came to my attention that we are above. But I understand the metrics that he went through, but I would like to figure out where we could keep it at capacity 29. Personally, I would like it to be at 26, 28, because that's how we used to be. Specifically because I feel like if,
Hold on one second. We just don't want the union to hear that back there, just in case we need.
I mean, we could figure it out, but my point is, we don't want to have 32, 34 kids for one teacher.
We don't want to.
We
don't
We'll-
want
We'll
that.
provide the board with,
Yep.
with those that are above 29.
So for the community to understand, each teacher has a specific amount of students that she will teach for the week, or how does that go?
Sheer,
day?
yep, so it's contact, so they could have up to on their roster
Right.
145 students. So at Beverly Vista Middle School, there's 7 periods. The teacher teaches 5. Within those 5 periods, they cannot have more than 145 students.
Which is 29 to 1. So
Yeah.
the average needs to be less than 29 to 1 for their 5 sections.
Understandable. So if we need more teachers, if we need to open more classrooms, because a few things came to my attention, if we have only, let's say, 2 English classes for a whole grade, that might not be enough, for instance. We might have to open up another English class.
I'm not sure we're in that position. We may have some classes over 29. I don't think we have
Okay,
too
maybe we
many,
can check and see.
But we'll
I-
provide that to you.
Yeah, I personally, you could ask the rest of the board, I would love to see where we're at. What classes, like, let's say we have 2 math classes in 6th grade, 2 in English classes, how many students are in each class? I would like to see that, so we could visually say, which is the Dual Language Academy. So the Dual Language Academy, I saw that you put it on here that it's kind of helping us get ahead, but it's only for certain students that are opting in, which is great. And I would like to see, how are those students doing? How do we measure their scores? Because they're at a different, completely, because they're mostly Spanish speaking. They're learning Spanish more, not that they're in home Spanish, but
Yeah,
because
we'll
they're
be
in the
able to
program.
measure it over time. It's
Yeah.
going to take some time because we're talking right now about just kinder and first graders.
Right.
So they don't even take state tests until 3rd grade.
Okay.
But we do have iReady. And
Correct.
We will have indicators and district benchmarks to be able to measure that over time.
Okay, and then in regards to the AP classes in the high school, do we have the AP classes in the middle school? You said that we do, right? No? Honors. We have honors. We can't have AP classes in the middle school. Okay, so in regards to the AP classes in the high school, you said that it doesn't affect them negatively. So is it something where if you have a lot of AP classes and the students don't necessarily take them, it looks negative on them? Not necessarily that we have so many, that we look, negative to other schools, but if the students don't take them, do they measure them according to that?
Yep, and so I want to address the whole community right now. This is why we have our increase in school counselors and college counselors at the high school to debunk some of these myths. One, I want to, outside of Blue Ribbon, I want to draw our attention. A year ago, I did a report to the board on U.S. News and World Report, and I want to read directly from that direct statement from U.S. News and World Report, which is one of the other measures that we have always worked to try to increase and achieve. One is just the college curriculum breadth, so meaning 10% of our overall ranking comes from what are we offering to our community to begin with. So we are held accountable for what does our students have access to. So that is where the overall number of advanced placement courses come into play into this calculation. And then in addition to, it's then we have a 30% of that is how many of the students then have access to AP, and then how many of them have scored a 3 or higher. So when we go back to our presentation, that's why it's so important for us to want to encourage more access to advanced placement, meaning a wider range, because not every kid is AP. And this is, I want to kind of talk about the middle school honors versus AP at the high school. Advanced placement, there are open access courses, an example of AP psychology. There is no pre-course or prereq to AP psychology. In addition, there's no prereq for AP music theory. Those are examples where I, as a student, maybe a VAPA student, do not necessarily love math and maybe do not love science, but I can access advanced placement courses in AP 2D art or AP music theory. So by eliminating those AP courses, we are now eliminating the opportunity for some of our students to have AP courses on their transcript.
Okay, that makes
Makes
sense.
sense?
Can I ask a question, if
Yep.
you don't mind? So, thank you.
Yep.
And just to flush through the myth.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing you say is that our system is set up to achieve in the U.S. News and World Report world.
Correct.
And of course, forget about that utility, but it's great that our students are having these opportunities, which they're learning more, it breeds confidence, et cetera. Do you think on the other side of the coin, to Mrs. Sabag's point, for college application purposes, does it work against them?
Yep, and so that's
If they are not taking the APs considering the breadth and quantity of offerings?
absolutely. So at the baseline of all college admissions process, we all have to remind ourselves it is a numbers game at the jump, right? And I think we'll even see with AI technology that it's going to even be less humanized in this process, right? It's going to be a numbers game, and it already is a numbers game. First and foremost, it's based off your transcript is your resume, right? It is what is your GPA immediately. It used to be when we were around, what was your class rank? What are your standardized assessment scores? Before they get to even looking at the course pathways that you took within. And so can the calculation of overall APs offered and the number that a student took potentially penalize a student applying to Harvard? Possibly. But if that person's applying to Harvard, shouldn't they have had access to all of our AP courses?
So my question on top of that, yeah.
So I'm going to double down here, and I'm going to go on a ledge and say the majority of our schools that most of our students, let's say Big 12, SEC, they are not calculating the overall percentage of AP courses offered to deny student admissions. A student is not getting in based on performance at BHHS, not based off of what is offered at BHHS.
Big 12
Okay,
being,
so
Big 12 is University of Minnesota, but it's Madison, it's, it's Penn State, but then also SEC, Syracuse, University of Virginia, so any of your universities ofs.
okay,
Yep.
thank you.
And so we have a lot of students that are very ambitious and that they do want to get ahead. And whether it's, the university they want to get into or just learning, as many APs as they can. So my next question is, the credits that we allow them to do certain APs in the summer is a big issue. So for instance, we lowered it, right? We had a discussion on that, from 40 to 20, I believe.
Yep.
So if you divide it, the students, let's say when they start BHHS, they start the high school, they will only be able to take one every two.
No, it's non-BHHS classes.
I know, but I'm talking about the AP classes also.
And so
The
it's-
AP classes, I'm talking for the summertime.
Yeah, but we don't offer AP in the summer, and
So
and
it's
we
the college
just-
courses?
No, just overall. So it's external providers. So that could be if the student needed to travel to France and needed to take biology, they could take it through Apex Learning online. They could take it through K-12 online. They could take it at SMC. They can take it, go to Harvard Westlake for
But we
summer
do
school.
have certain classes that you can take in the summer,
We
right?
we provide free summer school, and that was Ms. Manicherry had discussed. We do it in person, and we leverage an online partner to be able to support
Right.
and accelerate the curriculum because it's only 3 weeks long per semester. If you take it online independent of us, outside of our control, we only allow, per board policy, 20 external
That's
credits.
what I was talking about, yes.
Yep, and so 20 external credits, and we do not allow those in math and ELA because of the scores that we see.
Other than geometry.
Other than geometry, because the geometry is a one and done. I love geometry teachers out there in the world, and anyone that wants to focus on architecture. But all the rest of the math is linear, and it builds one after the other. And so we do only allow 20 external credits, and the reason that is there truly is for students to be able to accomplish 2 levels of something. So let's say that a student decides to take world language external to BHHS, they can get the 2 years required, the 20 credits, Spanish 1, Spanish 2, do it online. They may never take Spanish at BHHS with
But for the students that are very high achieving and they want to take it in the summer, they just can't because we're not allowing them.
Nope, we never said can't. We only give them credit towards graduation for 20 credits.
Right.
We have students that graduate with an associate's degree from SMC while graduating from BHHS at the same time, where they've taken so many college credits
Right.
simultaneously. We only allow 20 credits on the transcript towards graduation. We will put those other classes on the transcript, but it doesn't count towards their overall credits towards graduation. So it's separate. We encourage our students to take as many courses as they can within their control.
So like if they want to get ahead and they want to take a class during the summer just to bump them up, from 10th grade and 11th grade, it's going to be difficult for them because we won't pretty much allow them so many.
We allow, they can take a gazillion courses. We only
But they're not going to get
accept-
the credit for graduation.
Correct, but here's an example. So they can take them with
Yeah.
us. But here's an example of what I want us to understand is that, let's say that a student were to take, what's a builder here?
Algebra's a building.
I know, but we're not taking math outside of the district, people.
Geography.
Spanish 1.
or-
Okay, we're going to go Spanish 1. Okay, they take it externally in Spanish 2. They come back to us for Spanish 3. It'll say on the transcript Spanish 3. The colleges and universities will understand that they have built off that foundation. So they'll see the 3 on there. So they'll know that's the last level of completion. So when they come onto campus, they expect them to have that level of knowledge coming on.
So even though they didn't get the credit, it jumps them up.
Correct. It totally, we
Got it,
support
yeah.
advancement, yes.
Okay, that's a good explanation. So in the other behavioral issue, we did talk about the 3 M's, remember? Mrs. Monetary remembers? The monitorial, the motivational, and the mentorship. I want to see how we can tackle the behavioral issue. And it's absolutely not to get any award. We need to tackle it because we need to tackle it. We need to, get into the issues of ethics, morals, values, respect. And we need to figure out, if I knew what to do, I would do it now and maybe brainstorm something, but all of us need to figure out how we can tackle that. and starting from the elementary, because I'm also hearing we do have issues in the elementary schools with behavioral, and I would love for the elementary students to be completely prepared for the middle school with no behavioral issues whatsoever. And then in the middle school, they have a clean slate and they can, they can figure out what's going on with those students from 6th grade on. And then those students have no behavioral issues, hopefully in 8th grade, by the time they get there, and have a clean slate for the high school. We need to make sure that we have the bridge, like she was saying also. And I think, I'm sure I have more questions, but that's it for now.
Thank you. I'm going to keep it. Yeah. Thank you for bringing all this and getting us up to date. I know I brought this up with Dr. Turnus that we needed to have a strategic plan update and plan for the future. And I think that all of you have covered something that I would have covered. I would like to go back to one thing that I have always been, I'm really kind of zeroing in on, and that is in English in the middle school and in the elementary school. In high school, they're required, I think, more. But getting kids to read books, just to read books, to improve their skill of understanding and reading. And I don't think I see enough of that. And that's something I don't see kids. They're required to read the book in class. They read the book in class. What about the reading outside of class and the strength and the rigor that will provide, and book reports? I know now with the presence of AI and that problem with book reports and what have you, but I really want to see more of that kind of rigor in the English department. That to me will, I hope, raise scores more. And I think that they're...
And book reports.
And book reports and thinking about things. I really feel that that's something we are missing, and that's number one. Number two, very quickly, I know we're interested in the scores and so on. These scores of the percentages, they break down as 73% of the whole grade level that got 3 or 4s. I like to see how many kids maybe got 3 one year and got 4 the next year, and that breakdown also. That's not available to me in this report, and I think that's important because we can maybe see kids that were 2s that are getting 3s, and they're no longer, I'd like to see a little bit more of that data. I think Dr. Stern referred to some of that in her questions. I think that I would like to make one comment that I got, and this is for our presentation to the community. Someone called me about what AP classes are offered, and I said, well, it's on the website. She said, well, I can't find it. And so I went searching for it, and I found it, but I think that has to be something that needs to be addressed, how those are.
I've heard as well that there's so many great AP classes that some of the students who are so ripe for them just didn't hear about it. So I don't know how we can.
So
The Pathways book should be given out
Right.
at every orientation, please.
Or more like on the dynamic websites and feeds that, hey, have you guys considered this AP? It's, it exists because there's some students who weren't aware of certain great ones.
And so just my last comment, and then we'll call for the vote. I'm very pleased with the number of scores in the AP and how they've increased. I think that shows that we're putting a lot more emphasis. Maybe it will even get better with the new counseling system that we have.
Right.
And
Great job.
And so if it's possible, so we can move on, I'd like to get, with some of the suggestions that have been given, if we could get an approval of the strategic plan at this time, I'd like to call for the vote, if that's all right. No question? Okay.
Well, my question is, as a group, do we want to, I made a lot of specific requests, and I would like them to be incorporated in the strategic plan.
Well, then let me ask a favor, if they want it, in order to, can we put this on the first reading then and bring them back with the suggestions on the next meeting?
We could do that.
I think
fine.
that'll, yeah, I think that would
No
be.
vote is
And
necessary.
could you submit them, and Chris? you
With
need to
pleasure.
get 'em.
That's a great suggestion.
Is
Sure.
Chrissy clear of all the ones that we outlined? Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, I did re-look up exactly the difference in math scores for 2025 for Horace Mann and for El Rodeo, and they are in fact correct. So I just want to make sure that we do address, because they must be different learners, or there's different things going on, and the best way to
Okay.
solve a problem is to know exactly the data, so.
Okay, thank you.
And also, just really quickly, I would really, Dr. Seaman, the substitute teachers, the implementation of the list per subject, if we can really get that down, I love
Okay,
what Mrs. Monticelli said.
I think that's probably an administrative thing that.
Okay, we'll go ahead and take this input and bring it back to a board meeting.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank
okay,
you.
so we're going to table this, and we're not going to have a final, we just had a motion to approve it, but we're going to wait until the corrections and some of the things come back. Okay, Dr. Churtis?
Okay, I withdraw my motion.
And,
Did I make the motion?
And also, Dr. Stern, will you withdraw the second?
I withdraw the second.
Thank you so much. Okay, motion has been withdrawn.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going to go on to the implementation. This shouldn't take a lot of time. As you know, the Mahmood versus Taylor policies have been revisited by the CSBA, and they've written new policies for us. So basically, we are only, in this particular thing, and they're only first readings, going to present them and approve the first reading so that the public can also see them, and we can go through them very quickly if you want, and.
Thank you, Mrs. Marcus. I would like to say that these are 3 updates based on the Supreme Court decision Mahmood versus Taylor. We have currently on our website, we just made sure it's up today, on every single school site under academics, as well as in ed services on the district site, is this opt-out form. And so that opt-out, parent opt-out form is referenced in these 3 policies. As parents have the right to opt out, we today put it on all of the school websites under academics, and on the district website under ed services. And that is a link for the parent opt-out, so the parents and community know that that is there. It is a Google form. Is that correct, Colby?
Can I
No,
say something
it's
to that?
it's a PDF for that way, when they fill it out, they will bring it to their site-based administration,
That-
so to set a meeting with their principal.
Can I say something?
Yep.
I'd like to make a suggestion, and I hope it's going to be implemented. It should be on Aries. We have an Aries per student. So let's say in the beginning of the year, our families need to opt out over a lot of
Yeah,
things,
it
right?
will be. If the
Okay.
parent submits the parent opt-out
So this is
form,
just for now, right?
this is for the parent to fill it out and submit it. Once it's submitted to the school site, we will log it in Aries
But
for that child.
Just
Almost
wanna put
like
this out
when
that-
kids that want to opt out of being in photos, right? We log that into Aries.
I think that's
So
still
just
doesn't
for
work.
reference, okay, in the last couple of years, we've been required, or we have provided an opt-out for sex ed. The way that we've done that, I commend you on that, Dr. Seaman. You give advance notice, and it's actually an opt-in, not an opt-out. But with that said, an email goes out to the parents and informs them, this is gonna happen, and would you like to opt in? What I'm hearing being said is that the law is an opt-out right. So then my question is, why don't we just make it easy and, for example, make it electronic? Why do you want parents to have to come in?
Yes, I agree.
Can I
It's-
jump on this real fast? I apologize.
From an accounting perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah,
can-
I think it's much larger and deeper than an accounting perspective. So here's where I want to go. Currently, right now, just from a statistics standpoint, we only have one family that when the Supreme Court passed the ruling, that actually approached the school district and had a conversation and then provided an opt-out situation. So we only have one family in the whole district at this point. My question to the board is, if we open up a Google Doc where it's faceless, nameless, and no opportunity for conversation or collaboration, how do we know what it is specifically that they want to opt out in? Does that open us up to litigation for are they putting everything in there? Do they know what the
So-
standards are? Do they know it's being delivered in the classroom? So
Okay.
Yep, sorry.
Thank you for
Yep,
that, Dr. Seaman.
yep.
So specifically, what I am, I'm thought this would be like this, okay? So you have your areas. There is the documentation in the areas that they go into. It's great that it's on the website. The website should link it directly to areas. And you go into areas according to your password and your student, right? So in there, it says specifically, please let us know if you want to opt in or opt out for this specific. We have that already, and that goes directly, it flags to the teacher. How is the teacher going to know if the student is opting out or not? This is a legal basis. If we do it with a Google Doc and we have parents just signing it and turning it in, and then the admin goes and puts it in the areas, that's double, triple the work. Here, I think we should do it for the parents' sake, and plus it's law, right? We should do 2 folds and then a third with the areas. Keep it on the website, that's fine. Link it to areas, that's fine. And then send an email so that everybody is aware of what's going on, that they need to go to areas, and then make sure that they're in areas and they have to either opt in or opt out, so that everybody down the line needs to do this, so we are very clear. And then when they opt out, the admin can see exactly who's opting out. The teacher can see it with the flag and knows right away, because they're opting out of instructional, they're opting out of whatever is in the legal basis of this Mahmoud versus
But
Taylor?
can I jump in? So that's the gray piece that we need to be able to really be honest about today, is what is it that they're opting out in? So is it a specific isolated activity? And so once they opt out via Aries, are we just taking them out of social studies as a whole? This is the point where I believe having
no.
a
But
conversation.
But can I ask a question?
it's
Can I go
clear,
after?
yes.
With
One
the
at a time,
parent.
please. One at a
Yeah,
time.
let me just finish. We know our curriculum, right? We know what's going on in the classroom, and we know what we're going to be teaching our students. So we do the curriculum ahead of time. So we do have specifics, right? Like sex ed, instructional, whatever we have, that's what we have as a district. So we can put the list of what we have. Would you opt into sex ed? You know, some parents love, you know, and then this is the example of the pamphlet that we'd like to show the parents of what their child is going to be learning. So we have our own opting in and out of towards our curriculum. It's not going to be like vague. They're going to know. And once we put that in, it's from then on. So 5th grade would have different opting out, right? And then so on and so forth, you know, and maybe the younger kids also.
We will look into that.
Okay. But
Can I go next, or who's next, Michelle?
Go ahead.
Okay. So looking at this a little more closely, it is supposed to be for sincerely held religious beliefs, which is not an issue, but if you look at different experiences in schools, unless we are very clear, there could be a lot of reasons. For example, there are some religions, I think it's Jehovah's Witness, where it is against their practices to do the Pledge of Allegiance, okay? So then that student there should readily be an opt-out if those parents choose that engaging in that will be against their sincerely held religious beliefs or their ability to steer their children in religious upbringing. So it's not just in curriculum, it's practices activities. So it's a much broader and philosophical conversation before we start to worry about how the form gets filled out or whatever. But there's other ones as well. There's some religions that believe that a woman should not be in a leadership role and should not be making money, and that is another religious belief. So then does that mean if someone has a vignette or a story about so-and-so who gets a job at the UN or at JP Morgan, will that parent need to be notified so that student, so those girls can opt out? So these are larger questions that need to be addressed because there are a lot of different reasons potentially that people could opt out because it goes against their religious upbringing. The last thing I wanted to say is that there are a number of dissenters who have written about this and said that mere exposure, so let's go back to the example of the student whose religious practices do not believe in the Pledge of Allegiance. So if we were to do the Pledge of Allegiance every day, and that child is exposed to the Pledge of Allegiance, according to this opinion, that mere exposure does not rise to a claim or a complaint that the child was, misguided. Right. So we just need to be clear that, like, if that student walks by and they're doing the Pledge of Allegiance, a claim for violating their right to steer their children religiously won't necessarily rise to that occasion. So we just need to understand and not have overreach so that we are having administrative nightmares of children leaving in and out. And we know, as people who've worked in schools, it's very tough when you have kids coming and going. They could opt in, yes.
No, they could. They could also write in. Let's say it's not part of the curriculum. If we do have a curriculum, we put the curriculum. But if there is no curriculum, they could also write in. Please do not have my child do
And they
whatever.
usually do. I mean, I think they do. But I
usually
guess
do.
what I'm saying is if for some reason that child is exposed to the Pledge of Allegiance and it's against their religious beliefs, we aren't necessarily liable because according to the interpretation of this judgment, mere exposure does not rise to the level of, oh, we violated their right to.
Well, first of all, it is specific in the policy, because we're adopting a policy right now that is very specific to this new ruling. It's not our policy. We didn't suggest this. We didn't write this. It's a SBA that wrote it, and we're using it as the example, and it's the ruling. In regards to, like, for example, the Pledge of Allegiance, that's actually a legal thing that you have to put in the schools. But anybody can opt out of it, correct, like you said, for religious purposes, and that's unusual. So a parent, if they don't want that, they will do that on their own. My suggestion is, because what's written in here, it gives you examples, and then we can look at our curriculum and see what we need to do. Because if we just don't put anything and we just say, just opt out, parents are really busy, and some parents, frankly, don't pay attention. And that could put us disposed. Why? Because after the fact that their child is in that classroom or having the instruction that they never thought we even have because they didn't pay attention, then they could end up not opting out.
But whose fault is that? So let's think from a board standpoint, from a
I'm just
litigation.
saying we need to be transparent.
And-
Correct.
And I hear you on transparency, but I don't know what transparency looks like. And I just want to be very clear, because we're going to be the ones held accountable
So,
for
yes.
implementation. The way that we kind of consulted and brainstormed, we are a white glove community. We provide great services to all of our students. And I think where we're coming from is allowing us to have that opportunity to have a conversation with the family to ensure that we understand their expectations of the process, so that we don't have a student that may have been removed from the Pledge of Allegiance, and that even walking past students that are doing it could potentially put us into litigation.
Right.
And I don't want our administration to, get fried over this because we didn't understand the interpretation of what they're actually
So that's exactly why
getting out of it.
It should be an Aries, because everybody has to look at Aries, because that's specifically to their child. And in Aries, we can have something that says, is there anything you would, as a family, like to opt out your child that has not been, discussed, or it's not here showing? So they can write something, that they're allowed to opt out because of their religious reasons. Like,
So-
there has to be reasons, right?
Sincerely held religious beliefs.
So with respect to the actual language in these policies, since this is a first reading, does any board members have any comments on specific language or any feedback for staff before we bring this back for a second reading? We understand that we need to look at mechanisms to enforce the policy, to determine whether it's opt-out, whether we can notify sort of an opt-in model. When we know something like health education, right? Like Ms. Manchuri says, when we know it, we send it out and say, this is what we're teaching. If
Yeah.
you want to opt out, here you go.
Yeah, that's my
We
question.
spoon feed it to them when we know what it is. And we
Yes.
know it's an easy one
Yes.
to, and not just wait for them to come to us, is what I think you're saying. With respect to the language on these three, is there any edits here before we come back on the language piece for second reading?
Yeah, for me, the policy is the policy, and I think it's clear about what it is. I'm still trying to understand the duty of the district to inform and to notify and when that's triggered. And so maybe we implement the policy and then we can always come back
Well,
should
right
we
now,
have
we're
any
only
issues.
doing the First reading. I mean,
Yes.
So it's going to come back again.
Yes,
And so
yeah.
we can, if you have suggestions at that point, we can, you
Yeah.
know,
I would say the language as drafted to me is very clear about what the, expectations are of the district and of staff. It's pretty clear cut. I'm sure things could always be subjectively interpreted. And then I guess we'll just continue to learn about it a little bit.
I'd just like to point out, that's what I was just asking, and I tried to remember, the approval of the first reading of BP, Board Policy 6141.2. We've never had anything like that up to now. So the reason that this is more important is because this is the first time that we're going to have anything like this in our policy. This is brand new to our policy book. The other two are there now, and we're bringing them into alignment with the School Boards Association.
So Mrs. Marcus, we're hearing no specifics. If the board between now and the next meeting want to provide us with specific language, please do that, and we'll bring it back for second reading.
Can I ask too that they just clarify, there was one sentence I didn't understand. District schools shall not prohibit religious activities if the same or similar non-religious activities are permitted. What does that mean? District schools shall not prohibit religious activities if the same or similar non-religious activities are permitted. This is the CSBA.
Well,
I did.
If I can make a
read it.
comment.
I think that's like a club, for example.
Excuse me, I'd like to speak, Mr. Stewart.
I'm just a little confused. I mean, because we've never had this policy before in the past, this is obviously came to light because of what the Trump administration had passed. And I feel like what the Trump administration had passed was fairly specific, and then this is incredibly broad. So like Mandy had said, now you kind of open up these floodgates to cherry pick anything that might cross your religious understanding. When my understanding when this rule came down from the federal government was very specific on a topic. Now we've worded it in this barn door kind of way where you can literally cherry pick, like Mandy said, like Orthodox Jews don't allow women to, preach, but some
Right, there
different.
could be a story that was brought up, a short story
Yeah,
that,
so-
That's actually
but
not
that
true,
was-
but okay.
Well,
no, but there are
really,
religions.
I've never.
There are religions that say
or
that
sing or dance or whatever
there
the different
are
rules
some
are.
prohibitions on women, and there are some religions that definitely say women shouldn't take a leadership role or work or
Sure.
definitely. I'm not
But
saying
again,
any particular.
this is a broad scope on religion. It is not, from my understanding, the intent of the scope of what the federal government had said. So we have now, in my opinion, without dancing on the topic itself, because it's a touchy topic, that now it's become too broad, where now we're saying to all the parents, hey, if you come from a certain country that doesn't like certain this, you now have the opportunity to cherry pick that, which in my opinion just leaves us wide open to say, well, what does my background not allow?
So maybe between now and the next meeting, we look at tightening up and making it more specific as well. So it's not so broad.
It is incredibly broad.
And also, to your point, ensure that it's actually reflecting what the Mahmoud case is dictating.
Okay. And you know what? This may not just be we might have to go a second reading, third reading. It's not
Yeah.
uncommon. We don't want to, we want to get this right.
But I appreciate that my colleagues want to start with a more narrow interpretation for operationally.
And I think
This is
also
broad.
too, And I'm glad that Mandy had kind of hammered home the, tightly held, because obviously, with all due respect, there are going to be people that see this as, oh, I can just say so because I don't like this, where it's really not something that might be practiced at home or religiously, no pun intended, but they'll just be able to cherry pick it just because they can. And
Well,
no
I
one's gonna be
think
able
on
to
that
question.
note, they can cherry pick it as they can. You're absolutely right. So think about it. Let's say the school is doing something, and they just don't want their child to be there. They just don't.
But the
What
moment
can we do as a district
The
saying
moment we start
they
going
have
down
to?
that road,
That's what this is.
I know, but the moment we start going down that road where we are literally saying, here's a full-size menu of things that you can, nitpick at and say, I don't like this or I don't like that, and say, well, my family doesn't like, pink shoelaces on a shoe. Well, then, we're gonna get into a lot of big trouble.
So I think we need to read this in
We're in the
detail.
education business,
Yes.
not in the.
We need to read the policy in detail and implement the policy as written.
Well, the policy here doesn't say anything. It truly doesn't.
Yeah, we want to implement the decision as written.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would like to put our curriculum as what they can opt out on.
Okay. I think we have good feedback here for another
Thank
crack
you.
at it.
So, if there, it's up to you guys, we're just going to approve the first reading with the second reading coming back with some, instruction as to,
Or do we want to
or do we want to?
take it off?
I think let's just table it.
Yeah.
Table it?
Mrs.
Well,
Marcus.
we've had no motion
Your
on
thing is
this
off.
at all, so. We've had no motion on this subject at this point, so there, we
The
don't need to
recommendation
withdraw.
would be to table
The discussion.
policies A, B, and C.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
thank you.
Okay, we have come to one speaker on public comment on the next issue is Victoria Tate. Is she available on Zoom?
Not here.
It said that she was going to be, oh, no, it did not say where she would be.
Not here.
She was going to be here, she's not here? Okay, well, we will pass that off then, and if that's the case, I just guess we've come to the end of the meeting, and I'm going to announce that our next meeting is next Tuesday. It will be a regular board meeting.
No, Mrs. Marcus, we have a resolution. Resolution number 6,
Right.
professional and official business
I'm so
resolution
sorry,
A.
I was looking at Victoria Tate. She was listed afterwards. Okay, I would like to have a motion, please, from someone, approval of resolution 2025-2026-707. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion for the approval of that resolution.
Okay, Dr. Stern, and do I have a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Okay, any questions, concerns, comments that you would like to bring up at this time? Mr. Stewart, do you have anything that you'd like to say?
No.
Mrs. Manicherry?
I do have just some thoughts that I want to share with you all. First of all, I have been following the CSBA closely, and I was very surprised that recently the CEO and executive director of the CSBA had been corresponding with the governor and really pushing the governor to focus on academics. And so this is a letter that all the board's representative sent to the governor and the Department of Education in California, which says, and this is in response to, as we were just discussing, strategic plan, California scores continue to decline statewide. For decades, the state of California has held local governing boards accountable through various mechanisms, including, for example, audits and state mandates, but has never held agencies or policy-making bodies accountable for the quality and accessibility of the support provided to local education agencies laboring to improve student achievement, said the executive director and CEO of CSBA in a statement. And I don't know who he is, but the state has not created a comprehensive, coherent plan to hold itself accountable for its own role in closing the achievement gap, instead relying on unfunded or underfunded mandates, etc. And so I just want to remind us all that the boards in California are focusing on the strategic plan. I initially welcomed this awareness resolution, and then in the last 2 weeks, I've been hearing from a bunch of parents at various schools about why did he put that up during Multicultural Day? Why did she put that book up during Multicultural Day? And so on and so forth. Hopefully at the site level, the parents will be able to resolve these concerns. I'm just concerned that by acknowledging some and not others, which is what this does, that we're creating another issue of disparity, because European American Heritage Month is not on here. Other heritage months that could potentially be created on here are not on here. And so my first comment that I'm trying to make is that my commitment is to the academics and the achievement. While I do recognize all different types of cultures and backgrounds that we have, and then I am concerned, I don't even like to compliment different groups and teachers within our school district, because I feel like then I'm leaving someone else out. And so I am just concerned that the ship has possibly sailed on a resolution like this, and the focus on a resolution like this is something that was probably entirely relevant in 2020 or 2021, but when the executive director of the California School Boards is messaging to the governor and the Department of Education and saying, hey, can we get back to the education? I just wonder if BHUSD wants to stick with the first hour of this conversation and stick to the education.
Okay, finished?
Yep.
Thank you. Dr. Stern?
I don't have anything to add. I mean, I'm for it, and I don't have any, that's interesting what Ms. Manisheri said, so I'll continue to listen.
Mrs. Sabag?
I think that there's a lot going on right now, and I agree. We need to concentrate on the education. And this is the comparison of something else that we did is because we have issues in the classroom. So I think this is very polarizing, and I think it's the way it's written is not going to be positive. That's my feeling.
Okay, well, I agree about the academics, very much so, but how much of this is going to take time from the academics to use this? But I do feel that in light of everything that's gone on, I do believe that to just have recognition and do this so that some of the other groups that are there get the recognition that they'd like. I do feel that this is something that we can pass without it creating a great deal of commotion and taking away from the academics. So I feel that we need to have something in that recognizes all the groups, or as many as we have right now. And so in that respect, I would be in favor of this motion, of this resolution. Okay, so I think we will call for the vote, and we have a motion, first and second. I'll call for Mr. Stewart.
Yes.
Mrs. Manicherry.
No.
Okay, Dr. Stern.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabag.
No.
And I will vote yes. So the motion passes 3-2 for the resolution. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to, we'll adjourn the meeting, but before doing so, I will announce that we have a meeting the November 4th. It's a regular Board of Education meeting, and then there will be one 2 weeks later on the 18th. And with that in mind, I will now adjourn the meeting.